to worry about it. Mamaya po ipapapanood niyo po yan. Okay? If you're joining from our Zoom app, makikita niyo po na may notification po dyan na this meeting is being recorded po. Pakiclick lang po yung continue or proceed para po ma-record po yan. And then after the webinar, pagtapos na po tayo at i-release na po namin yung certificates niyo po. Kasama po ibibigay sa inyo ang slides, yung recordings po, plus ang inyo pong certificate. Okay po, yung mga nanonood po sa page natin right now, you can request for a copy of the slides. The video, you can watch it from our YouTube channel. But again, kiklear ko lang po, if you are not in the Zoom meeting room right now, hindi po kayo makakakuha ng certificate. So kung gusto pa pong humabol, wala naman pong problema, pero limited po ang ating Zoom meeting room to 100 attendees lang po. Okay? Clear po ba tayo? Okay. So, bago po tayo mag-start, good afternoon lang po muna sa lahat po ng mga nandito sa ating Zoom right now. So, we have Florentino Asuncion, Miss Arlene Aguilar, Jovi Reyes, good afternoon. Irish, Percy, Matilde Ortiz, Carol Vasquez, and Liberty Itliong, good afternoon po sa inyo. Yung mga nandun naman po sa ating page right now, good afternoon din po. Si Miss Pukol po, nandito rin po, nanonood with Miss Risian Grace Maladrigo and two other people. Sharon, good afternoon. Hindi ka pa ba pagod? Present ka pa rin dito. Actually, Sharon just came from our HR Bootcamp Masterclass. First batch po. Nakagraduate na po ang ating first batch. Kaya masayang-masaya po sila right now. Ayan po. Vance Narciso, good afternoon. Rochelle Soriano, isa pa ito. Mga galing sa sa ating HR Bootcamp Masterclass, buhay na buhay, mataas pa rin po ang energy level. Good job everyone. Good afternoon din po sa iba pa pong mga nanonood from our page. We have Sinia Calios, Mark Eliorin, Gino Fernando, good afternoon po. Cesar Lorillas also watching. Genevieve Asman, Glaza D. I wish hindi ko na murder yung pangalan mo. Okay, good afternoon. RV Magnaye, good afternoon. Lawrence Hernandez, good afternoon. Uy, RV, thank you so much for the stars. Ayan. Joanna Aldaba is also watching. Good afternoon po. Neresa Forcado, good afternoon. Hannah Elaine Lee, good afternoon po. JMST, Larry Jean, Gemma Felianes is also watching. Jin Villegas, Danisa Omao, Danisa Omao. Kung kayo po ay nanonood right now, pa-watch party na lang po, paki-share na lang po sa ibang mga pages. Okay, good afternoon po. Good afternoon, Miss Sunshine Miguel. Good afternoon po sa iba pang manonood. So yung mga bagong salta po, mapapansin nyo po na medyo iba po ang format natin right now. So we're doing this via Zoom kasi medyo we're trying to make sure that it's one of the challenges that we've been having the past few webinars is that sometimes people would register and then certificate lang yung kailangan nila. That's not the aim of the free webinars that we have right now. You have to understand that when we issue the certificate of attendance, we're also certifying that you attended. So to make sure that you really attended, really listened to, and gave focus on what the speaker is trying to impart, we're doing this via Zoom na po. Moving forward, it will be via Zoom. We're limiting it to 100 attendees, but we will also be doing it live in our Facebook page. Yung mga nasa Zoom po, sila lang po yung makakakuha ng ating certificate of attendance. So kung gusto pa pong humabol, message lang po sa page para po mai-address po ng ating mga team members yaan. Okay po? This is also our way to ensure na hindi rin naman po nasasayang ang oras ng ating pong mga speakers kasi syempre sayang naman po kung they spend more than an hour with us trying to impart important lessons pero ang atin pong effort ay para lamang po sa certificate. Okay po, we hope you understand po. This is po to ensure that we prioritize those who are really willing to learn. Sa mga nag-send po ng stars, abay maraming salamat po. Nagulat po ako, may mga nag-send po ng stars. Maraming salamat po. It will go a long way with the team. Maraming salamat for the appreciation. Okay? Pero bago po ang lahat, syempre po, introduce ko po muna kayo. Sino nga ba si Uprash kung first time nyo po to attend, especially yung mga nasa Zoom room po natin. If it's your first time to attend, let me introduce to you Uprash. Uprash is a managed recruitment service company. We do managed payroll service, in-house and public workshops and webinars, consultancy and HR toolkits. We have just recently launched our salary survey for 2020. If you would like to be part of it, just let us know po. Okay po? And of course, we would like to invite you to watch this video po about our flagship project, which is yung atin pong HR Bootcamp. Please watch this video. Ayan po. Okay po, maraming salamat po. Kung kayo po ay interesado po na umattend ng aming HR Bootcamp, po pwede po kayong sumama sa atin pong Batch 15 happening on March po. So if interested po kayo, just let us know and we will include you in our Batch 15. Okay po ba? Okay pa ba tayo? Yung sa ating mga nasa room right now, I know you're interested na malaman na kagad kung ano po ang ating kung ano ang masasabi ng ating special guest right now. Okay, how much is the course fee for the HR Bootcamp? Ito po ay nasa 1,680. Good news po, kung kayo po ay hindi makakahabol sa March na public webinar po ng ating HR Bootcamp, pwede po kayong mag-request ng one-on-one session. Ang kinaganda po ng one-on-one session is pwede po nating i-customize yung atin pong program para mas mag-fit po dun sa kung ano man po yung meron po yung kung ano man yung line of business nyo, gaano kalaki yung company nyo at kung ano yung mga concerns nyo. Okay? Face to face na po ba ang HR Bootcamp next year? Plano po namin is during the second half. Hopefully, face to face na po. Hopefully. Okay? Iba pa rin kasi talaga ang learning pag face to face. Pero we'll see how it goes pag hindi po pinalad, online pa din tayo. Okay po? Sige po, Miss Carol Ann, i-send po natin yan mamaya. Okay po? Ayan. So aside from that, yung mga gusto pong tumulong sa Cagayan, please let us know po. Not just Cagayan but also Mindanao. Mindanao just suffered from heavy rains and floods kay Typhoon Vicky, if tama po ang pagkakaalala ko na pangalan ng bagyo. So yan po, kung kayo po ay gusto nyo pong mag-donate, please reach out to us via our page and we'll give you instructions on how you can donate po para po sa mga nasalanta nating kapatid sa Cagayan po, sa Marikina na din at pati rin po yung mga nasalanta ngayon sa Mindanao po para matulungan po natin sila. Hindi po biro at hindi rin naman maganda ang magpasko ng ikaw po ay ginigina, walang masilungan or walang makain. Okay po? So tulungan po natin sila. Okay? So yung mga gusto po mag-attend ng HR Bootcamp, yung mga nag-send po ng email na sa ating group chat, huwag nyo na pong problemahin. But for those who haven't sent yet their email address sa amin pong group chat dito sa Zoom, and for those who haven't sent their email address sa atin pong groups, you can actually take out your phone po, scan the code that we have right now in order to pre-register for HR Bootcamp Batch 15 po. Ayan. Pwede po kayo mag-pre-register po dyan. Once you have filled out the form, we will send you the details and you can join po our HR Bootcamp Batch 15. Okay, we'll send you the details po ng payment dyan. Okay, it's a paid webinar po sa mga nagtatanong po. It's a paid webinar. Of course, we also have Managing the Performance of Your Talents happening on Monday. This is on December 21. Pwede pa pong humabol. Kung gusto nyo pong humabol, scan lang po yung ating QR code para ma-send po sa inyo yung details. Or you can also reach out to our page, send us a message, and we will send us your email address, and we will provide you the details ng atin pong webinar. Ayan po. Mag-good afternoon lang po ako kay Miss Mary Josephine Chris Beth. Isa po yan sa mga regulars po ng Uprush. Leonora Dumagat, good afternoon din po. Ronaldo Dio, Rose Mia, CP Mugas, good afternoon po. Tess Reyes, good afternoon po. May energy pa tayo. Good job, Tess. Jelina Madelo, good afternoon. The rest po, good afternoon din po sa inyo. Pag hindi ko po kayo nabate, pasensya na po. Medyo mabilis po kasi yung pasok ng mga comments po sa ating page. So, ay po. If you would like to see past webinars, past episodes of HR Bytes, pwede rin po kayong pumunta dun sa amin pong YouTube channel para po ma-check nyo po yung mga past episodes. By next year, we are also starting a new playlist sa ating pong YouTube channel. So meron po tayo HR Bytes para po doon sa mga HR information na kailangan nyong malaman. Meron po tayong free webinars if ever gusto nyo pong balikan yung mga dati nating episodes. At magkakaroon na rin po tayo ng a day in the life of an HR. Paano po mag-distress as an HR? Bibigyan ko po kayo ng tips kung anong po pwede nyo pong gawin para hindi naman po kayo nai-stress bilang HR. Ayan, ano po yung mga options nyo po. Rosmia is actually an HR bootcamp attendee January 2019. Ang tagal na nito. Actually, kanina sa ating masterclass, isa sa mga attendee namin ay yung mga ninuno ng HR bootcamp. Sorry, Kiko. HR bootcamp batch 3 pa daw siya. Okay? Si Rosmia is I think batch 1 kayo ng Cebu. If I remember correctly, you are, batch 2. Sorry, batch 2 of Cebu. Yan po, si Rosmia po yan. Si Miss Tess naman po, yan po ay umattend po ng ating HR Bootcamp Masterclass kanina. Ayan. Si Chris Beth, hindi ko maalala kung alin yung inattendan mo. HR Bootcamp din ba yun? Pero alam ko umattend din siya ng isa sa mga webinars po natin. Ayan. Tulad nga po ng nasabi ko, meron po tayong magandang balita. Kung kayo po ay hindi po kayo makaabot dun sa ating mga public workshops at kayo po ay gusto nyo or mas comfortable kayo ng one-on-one, mas gusto nyo yung customized approach, yun talagang ang examples natin ay yung company ninyo at paano nyo i-apply sa company. Kung gusto nyo rin po yung self-paced po siya pero kailangan nyo pa rin na meron kayong nakakausap, meron po tayong training on demand. So ito po, kayo po ang pipili ng schedule nito. Po pwedeng hindi isang araw, pwede nyo actually i-breakdown ito. So kung 6 hours po yung webinar, po pwede pong 2 araw na tig 3 hours or 6 na araw na tig 1 oras. So nasa sa inyo po lahat yan. Okay, for now, ang training on demand po ay available for understanding mandatory benefits, basics of payroll processing at MS Excel for the HR professional. Diyan pa lang po muna. At yung latest po is yung ating HR bootcamp. Meron din po tayo ng training on demand. Binibeta test po natin right now. So kung interested po kayo at gusto nyo pong maging part noon, gusto nyo pong magkaroon ng training on demand for HR bootcamp, just let us know po. Okay? Para alam po natin, para masama po namin kayo sa mga schedule po namin. Medyo loaded na, meron na pong nakabook ng December 26. And I think may isa pa pong magbo-book over the weekend. Ang kagandahan ng training on demand, wala po itong pakialam kung holiday, rest day o kung ano man po. Basta available po kayo at available po ang mentors po, pwede po kayong magpa-book for the training on demand. Ayan po. Okay, imbitahan ko din po, ang dami ko palang yung ating pong speaker malapit na ako sa kanin kasi ang dami ko pala ipo-promote. Siyempre papo-promote ko din po ang ating practical tips on for employee engagement. Okay, this is happening on January 4, 2021. So kung interested po kayo, scan lang po ang QR code para po kayo ay makasama. Sa mga nagtatanong po, do you provide e-certificate for the participants? Lahat po nung nasa Zoom right now, they have certificates outside of Zoom. So if you're watching from our page, kayo po ay wala pong certificate. So if you would like po to have a certificate, reach out to our page para po maihabol po namin kayo doon po sa ating Zoom meeting room right now. Yung nasa mga Zoom naman po, please make sure that you use your full name. This will serve as your attendance as well as basis po namin sa kung anong ilalagay na pangalan para po sa inyong certificate. Okay po. So make sure po na kayo po ay buong pangalan po. Kasi pag hindi po buong pangalan, baka hindi po namin mailagay ng tama. Okay? If you are not sure how to change your name, please go to the participant list. Look for your name. Click on your name. Click more if you're joining from a laptop. If you're joining from a tablet, pagka-click nyo po ng name nyo, lalabas na dyan yung option to rename. Pag kayo po ay joining from laptop or PC, click more. You'll have the option to have yourself renamed po. Para po ang magagamit po natin ay yung inyo pong buong pangalan. Ayan po. Pwede pa po tayong humabol doon sa atin pong Zoom meeting room. Pwede pa po kayong humabol dito right now. Okay? So wag pong mag-alala. Habol po kayo. Si Ms. Jelina Madelo po ata, yung nagtatanong kanina. So yan po, kung makakahabol ka po, we can give you the certificate kung dito po kayo sa loob ng Zoom. Okay, currently we have about 29 people. We have 65 people who registered. Po pwede pa po kayong humabol. Ang latest po natin na joining is si Miss May Ontua, who is also a regular sa atin pong webinars. Ayan po. Okay po. May questions pa po ba? Okay, hopefully yung mga nasa page pa wala ng questions kasi feeling ko po ay Zoom link po, reach out ka po Sharon dun sa atin pong page. Send ka po ng message para po maidagdag ka po namin dito sa room po. Okay? Pwede ka pa po naming ihabol Sharon. Okay po. Yung mga ano po, Dale, Monica, siguro po reach out tayo kay Sharon. Paki-message na lang po siya para maka-attend siya kasi nandun siya kanina sa ating HR bootcamp masterclass. Okay po. So yan po. Join na lang po kayo dito mamaya. Okay. Okay? For those who are in our Zoom meeting room po, please keep yourselves muted para wala naman pong background noise po para sa ating speaker at para magkarinigan po tayong lahat. Okay po? Hi, Kathleen Doliente. Okay. Tapos kung may questions po kayo, we'll have a session later on for the Q&A portion. So pag may question po, lagay lang po dun sa ating group chat and we will address that later. And with that, I think we are very much ready to begin with our session for this afternoon. So sino po ba ang ating speaker for this afternoon? Our speaker is actually a strategic HR business partner. Alam ko yung mga nag-HR bootcamp kanina ay suka na dahil ilang beses nating inuulit yung term na strategic, high impact. Yan. Strategic HR business partner with more than 6 years of experience in labor relations, rewards and recognition, organizational development, talent planning and acquisition, comparative cross-border labor laws. Ang lalim po nun yun at medyo high level po talaga yun. Comparative cross-border labor laws for Philippines, Singapore, and China. So napaka-alam po talaga niya pagdating po sa mga labor laws po. He has worked with various multinational corporations in business process outsourcing industry as well as in the maritime and logistics and packaging as well as integrated marketing. At one point po, he assumed an acting capacity for regional HR business partner for Philippines, Singapore, and China. He is a graduate of political science, Juris Doctor, and also took up postgraduate diploma in human capital management. He's globally certified chartered professional in human resources, CPHR po. He has also delivered lecture for HR professionals across the country on the latest jurisprudence on labor law, flexible work arrangement. Ayan, so yung mga nagtatanong po, paano po ba namin i-apply yun? Masasagot po kayo ngayon dyan. HR compliance initiatives during pandemic, documentation that matters in relation to just and authorized causes of terminating an employment contract during the pandemic. Yung mga takot po dahil hindi nila alam kung paano ba ang just causes, ano ba yung mga authorized causes. This is your chance po to understand those concepts. During his free time, he loves to swim and play classical piano pieces. Naku, ang ganda naman ito. On weekends, prior to the pandemic, he's a weekend farmer. Wow, plantito. And he is happily married for 4 years po. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome Sir Marco Ballesteros. Ayan po.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Ayan, I think
Is my audio clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's good. So how is everyone today? Despite on a weekend, you are here with us joining this webinar. I welcome you all to this free webinar powered by Uprush. No? So I'll be discussing on compliance, HR compliance, and also 3 cases. I can only cover 3 cases because of the limited period of time. So the cases that we will be discussing today is all about a constructive dismissal and illegal deduction from a taxi driver and leave that resulted to termination of employment. And the last one is an issued job description that led to termination of employment contract. So this happens in 3 industries. We have the medical industry, power industry, and transportation and logistics. So let's go first to the to HR compliance. Can I see my slides now? Sorry.
Okay po, pwede mo na po i-share. Nakashare na po ba?
Oh. Give me just 1 sec, ha?
Okay po. Go ahead lang po.
For some reason, I cannot share my slide. Sorry. Do you have your slide so that I can control it on my end?
Patay po sir kung kung ma-open mo po. Habang ino-open ko po yung kopya ko, baka ma-open niyo po sa inyo. Patay lang po.
Mm-mm. Okay, anyway, since we are still waiting for the slides to come in, so I just want to give you a brief introduction about HR compliance. What is HR compliance? No, so HR compliance is one of the facets that determines whether a company is compliant with all the requirements. We have one, the external processes. Second is the internal processes. When I say external processes, this includes the compliance in terms of reportorial requirements to the Department of Labor and Employment. We also have the reports going to PEZA if your company is a PEZA registered company. And also, if you have expats working within your organization, then we need to have visas, work visas, work permits for these particular employees. Now, let me start first with the onboarding. No, so for onboarding, just 1 second. Okay, so HR compliance, as I was saying, monitors all HR compliance related matters from onboarding up until offboarding, and also statutory requirements submitted to the Department of Labor and Employment. We have also the Bureau of Internal Revenue in cases of retrenchment redundancies. You have to take note that this particular RKS5 should not only be submitted to the Department of Labor and Employment, but also submitted to the Bureau of Internal Revenue for tax purposes. No? And then also those compliance-related matters to the Social Security System, Pag-ibig, and PhilHealth. Now, what is the reason why we should have this particular compliance? Because it is a preventive measure of any exposure of the company. No? Second, it also gives an assurance to the employees that the company respects the statutory and internal requirements. Now, as I was saying earlier in my discussion, we have two types. We have internal and external compliance. So when I say internal compliance, this relates to regulations and rules put in place by the company. So you have policies, you have code of conduct, code of discipline, code of business conduct. Okay, and if you have also clients, no, so you have also you also set in place some measures to ensure that the company is compliant to the SLAs of the clients. Okay, if you are in an outsourcing industry, you also have external compliance. So when I say external compliance, this relates to regulations put in place, such as government, statutory, or board in your operating industry or the client. It might either be internal. For some, they put it as internal compliant for client, but for some, they put it as an external because it is not part of the company. That's why they put it, some organizations put it as an external compliance aspect. Now, let's go to the process. No? So in onboarding, what are the requirements that first, let's start first with our requisition form, no, for recruiters or the talent acquisition team. So in this particular process, what needs to be addressed by a compliance officer, HR compliance officer, is to ensure that this particular requisition form are in place. No, was it signed? Was it properly documented? No, and then the turnaround time in posting the the vacancies in the online portals that we have. No, so we have to ensure also of the timeline. If the person, okay, or the employee, if this particular position, I should say, is a new position, new field position, then it doesn't require the turnaround time at the top of my head is 30 to 60 days for it to be filled. But then if this particular is a replacement, then it is suggested that before the 15-day period wherein the previous employee is or the employee is rendering, then that particular replacement should be onboarded for proper transitioning. Okay, if we can have that in place, then there should be a checklist, a handover list coming from the resigning employee. All right. So before onboarding the candidate or the employee, we should also be having a checklist of the requirements, pre-employment requirements. That's very important. First is the birth certificate of this particular candidate. Why? Because we need to ensure that the employee that we are getting is 18 or more than 18 years old on the day of his first day of employment. No, otherwise we will be violating a labor code provision if we are engaging the services of an employee that is below 18 years old. Second, we also have to have the NBI clearance of the candidate or the employee. Why? We need to ensure that this particular employee or the candidate that we hire is not a criminal, no, doesn't have any records, so to speak, or no pending warrants of arrest for this particular candidate or employee. Third, the statutory numbers. When I say statutory numbers, these are Pag-ibig, PhilHealth, Pag-ibig, PhilHealth, and SSS. Okay, so we need to have these in place prior to the person or prior to the employee being onboarded. Okay, so what if the employee wasn't able to secure all these pre-employment requirements? For some companies, they require also medical checkup or medical health certificate coming from the provider of the authorized provider of the company or a local hospital or clinic. No, but on some LGUs or local government units, they require employees to secure. Okay, if the employee is not a resident of that particular territorial jurisdiction, for example, in Mandaluyong, if they are not a resident of Mandaluyong, then the local government requires that this particular employee should have a local work permit. Okay, so we need to ensure also that these particular employees who are not living within the territorial jurisdiction of Mandaluyong should secure this particular work permit coming from the city government of Mandaluyong. So you have to have a dashboard for that, a checklist to ensure easy monitoring. No? So if the employee fails to have those requirements submitted on the first day of employment, then what should we do? So basically, we should be sending out an order notice to these particular employees to submit the documents or to comply with the necessary activities that they have to undergo prior to them being employed. No, but then they are already in the company. But then it is a business requirement that they should be onboarded. You should have to secure or have this notice sent out to them or received by the employee. So in this pandemic, if the employee is not reporting to work or is not reporting physically in the office, now what we should do is we send out the notices through email. No, that's authorized now. And then if you have some funding, then you can also have the document sent out to the latest known address of the employee through registered mail. But on some cases already of the Supreme Court, they already upheld that the courier can now be admissible in evidence, no, so to speak. All right. So that is the onboarding. If the employee fails to submit these particular documents or to comply with the order notice, but then on the order notice, there should be a time frame that you should be stating there that the employee should comply with this particular, you should submit these documents within a turnaround time of 30 days. Otherwise, it will lead to a disciplinary action. No, that all depends also on the penalty or the code of discipline that you have for a particular case for failure to comply with pre-employment requirements. For some companies, failure to comply will lead to the termination of the employment contract of the employee. All right. So that is the onboarding. Now, in compliance, we also need to ensure that the employee, the new hire employees, should be paid on a timely basis. Not only newly hired employees, but the employees of the company. So I assume all of the listeners right now, all of the viewers have a particular system in place to easily monitor the attendance of the employees, okay? So the role of a compliance officer also is to monitor that if there are some leaves that are not approved by the immediate manager within a particular cutoff, then you should call out the attention of the concerned manager for it to be approved on a timely basis, and so that the payroll system can capture at once, and there will be no deduction on the part of the employee if this particular leave is approved or not. Okay. Then that's the payroll aspect. Now we now go to performance management. Okay, we need to ensure also as a compliance practitioner, you should also comply with the requirements set in the code of or the policies of performance management. If the employee fails on his scorecard, okay, prior to enrollment, we need to ask operations or the immediate manager or the supervisor of the employee on whether or not, what are the interventions, HR interventions or performance interventions that this particular supervisor or manager implemented for this particular employee to have a higher score. Now, prior to enrollment, you have to have a checklist if this particular activity was done by the manager or the supervisor, and after that, if the employee fails, and if it is included on the policy that it leads to disciplinary action, then you follow the disciplinary action process. Okay, prior to termination, because at some point I have in my experience, there are some supervisors who just wants to get rid of this particular employee without enrolling the employee to performance management. They are telling HR that this employee failed for three times. But then the question is, were you able to follow the procedure, the proper procedure in enrolling your direct report to performance management? Because if not, then it is the duty of the supervisor or the manager to enroll that particular direct report to performance management. Otherwise, if it escalates to a disciplinary action without such documentation, then there is a legal risk to the company. All right. So we now go to the mandatory trainings. Okay. In relation to performance management. Now, we need to ensure also as a compliance officer that there should be a checklist, the rate of closure of all these mandatory trainings that are employee undergone. Okay, we need to ensure also that prior to promotion, there is a this checklist, okay, of trainings that this particular employee for promotion to be approved by human resources. So you have to carefully check those parameters. For example, if the employee, based from the policy, was issued for a violation, for example, of attendance, and the cleansing period for that is 6 months probably in the code of conduct, and not eligible for promotion. But then HR partner forwarded that particular information to you or to the HR manager for approval. But then you were able to check based from the dashboard on case management that this particular employee was issued a disciplinary action and not eligible for promotion. Then we should call out the HR business partner or operations for that matter. All right. So we now talk about, we are now done with performance management. So we now go to disciplinary action. No, it's very important that we should be having artifacts to support our bases in submitting or initiating disciplinary action. Okay, not all incident reports are actionable. Okay, because you need to ensure also that the evidence presented by the person who is submitting the incident report has a basis. Otherwise, you dismiss it at an earlier stage. Okay. So for disciplinary action, we have to ensure that there are the twin notice requirement. Okay, the twin notice requirement and the 5-day period rule. No. So when I say the twin notice requirement, the first notice is the notice to explain, and some call it notice of formal charge. Okay, so if the employee is issued a notice to explain or notice of formal charge, and the employee doesn't want to acknowledge this particular document, what should you do? In the process, there should be a person of the same level as the person issuing the NTE or the notice of the notice. Okay, a peer manager, same level as the one who's issuing the notice, who will act as a witness in case that this particular person doesn't want to acknowledge. So in this pandemic, then we can have it electronically acknowledged by the employee. Okay, but then some organizations do it still the old way, sending it through registered mail to the last known address of the employee. Now, is it necessary? The question now here is that, is it necessarily to have an administrative hearing? That all depends. Okay, if you have in your policy that there should be an administrative hearing for minor offenses and also grave offenses, then so be it. But then if the company policy is silent about it, then it's no longer required, because in the case of PT&T, it says that after it's 2 years. It was 2 years decided after the case of King of Kings Transport was decided. It's a PT&T case wherein it states that admin hearing is not mandatory unless, first, it's part of the CBA or collective bargaining agreement. Second, if there is a policy that is incorporated, or that particular provision is incorporated to the disciplinary action policy. Okay, so that is the time that administrative hearing is required, because the concept of due process is that the employee is given the chance to explain his or her side to rebut. First is to rebut the allegations against him, and secondarily, if the employee admits the allegation that is on the notice to explain or to the notice of formal charge. So that is the first notice. No? So the second notice is the notice of resolution or notice of decision. Now, in this notice of decision, oh, by the way, let me go back to the notice to explain. In the notice to explain, it should allege, okay? It should state the allegations against the employee. What particular code provision was violated by the employee? Okay. And then, what particular code violation? Be particular also of the date and time that the incident was committed or omitted, okay? Because that is very material for the employee to admit or deny the particular act or omission mentioned on the first notice. Now, we now go to the notice of resolution or notice of decision. Now, in this notice of decision or notice of resolution, the notice of decision should be based on the allegation, should be based on the answer of the employee. Okay, what if, the question is, what if the employee wasn't able to answer the notice to explain or the notice of formal charge in a timely manner? Okay, or if the employee wasn't able to answer it at all. So what is the remedy of the employer? Now, the remedy of the employer now is that he should be sending the notice to notice of decision and notice of resolution because the employee waives his or her right to due process or to explain his or her side. Okay. Now, if the employee doesn't want to sign the document, what should HR do? Send out the notice to the last known address of the employer. Okay, so that is employee relations. Now, let me just go back a little bit on the annual document that the employee should be submitting. In case that your company has a clause on the contract or a policy about non-compete declaration or declaration of other source of income, then it should be done on a yearly basis, and also for updates. Okay, so we have to have these regular updates on a yearly basis, annually, to our employees for them to update their address, their marital status. Okay, why is it important? Because if we will be sending out the notices to the last known address of the employee, it's very important. Okay, though even if in one case it is the duty of the employee to update human resources on his or her address. But then just to make sure that we have the updated address of employees, we should be sending out this particular document to the employees, okay, on a on an annual basis or on a yearly basis. Okay, so we now go to offboarding. Okay, what is important about offboarding is there are two types to offboard an employee. As you all know, we have through voluntary. So when I say voluntary, it is through the medium is resignation. And when I say involuntary, this may either be through 297 or 298 of PD 442. Okay. So for involuntary, let's go first to the voluntary, I should say. Okay. So for voluntary termination of employment contract, okay, we need to ensure that the employee submits his or her resignation letter. And we should not only be putting a note on the resignation letter, accepted, noted, acknowledged. There should be also a formal letter addressed to the employee stating that we accept your resignation, okay? And then the clearances of the employees, we need to ensure also that the employee on the last day of his employment, then the clearance is floated out already because of the LA or labor advisory on the 30-day notice that or the 30-day period turnaround time wherein the employer is obliged um, to have the certificate of employment, and secondarily is the final pay of the employee within the 30-day period that the employee severed his or her services from the company. Now, in terms of involuntary termination of employment, okay, it should be on the NTE or on the notice of decision. It's clear that the final day that the employee is connected with the company, okay? Because on some notice of decision or resolution, it just states effective immediately, okay? For clarity, it should have the date of actual termination of the employee, actual termination of the contract of the employee. Okay, now, what if the employee, what if this particular notice is sent out to the last known address of the employee? Now, what is the period that we are talking about? It's 10 or 5, okay? When I say 10, it's sent out through registered mail or through courier, okay? And 5 because of the period as stated in the rules of court, a 5-day period for it to be effective, okay? And then what else? So basically, that is the flow of compliance. Okay. So we now move on to jurisprudence, unless you have questions. Sorry, I can't.
We'll handle the questions afterwards. After
Okay, that's good.
presentation.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
That's good. All right. So now we will be discussing about 3 cases. Okay. So the cases of Mejares, the cases of Mejares, we also have the case of Meñaño, and then last is the case of the SPC Power Corp versus Santos. Okay. So let's start first with the case of the taxi driver. Okay. So in this particular case, Mejares was a taxi driver of Hyatt under boundary system in September of 2007. Okay. So on 2011, Mejares was allowed to exclusively drive a specific taxi unit. However, there are some charges on his deductions that is remitted on a daily basis to the owner of the taxi, Hyatt Taxi Services. Okay, so what are these deductions? Okay, so we have the 70. There is an initial contract between Mejares and Hyatt about the contract of there is initial contract wherein the taxi driver is will be remitting 30 pesos and then a receipt will be issued by Hyatt. No, so there is a cash bond that was purportedly to cover the deficiencies in boundaries and cost of repairs. No, but then in January 2000, Hyatt Taxi started to deduct 70 pesos per shift without written authorization from taxi drivers. So this new deduction, okay, was supposedly intended to cover the cost of the driver's two-way radio system. Okay, but there's no authority to deduct. Okay, beginning of 2004, there is another deduction of 50 pesos per tour. This was to cover the Denso air conditioning unit installed on the taxi. Now, later on, 2006, okay, 150 pesos should be remitted on a daily basis by Mr. Mijares to Hyatt. So this 150 pesos, okay, this is per shift day, would cover the conversion of the taxi from gas or from diesel to an LPG. Okay. Later on, 2009, there is another deduction per shift day for the calibrating of the taximeter. And then we have 2014, another 50 pesos per shift day for the installation of antenna repeaters. Now, one day, sometime in March of 2016, okay, when he is about to return his taxi to the garage of Hyatt Taxi, a regular customer called him up, okay, to fetch him to somewhere in Laguna, okay, and he agreed. The taxi has a coding on that particular day, but then since there's no coding in Laguna, he decided to have this particular regular customer to be brought to Laguna. So he returned the taxi around 9 in the morning already on that particular day. And then the following day at 4 o'clock in the morning, he went to Hyatt's office and asked for the key of his taxi, the unit that he is driving on a regular basis. Then Hyatt Taxi told him that, hey, you are suspended. Okay, so without any notices to or NTE that was issued to Mijares. So on a day-to-day, he went to Hyatt asking for the taxi, and on one day, the taxi was loaded to a truck, and then moved out to the office of Hyatt Taxi. Now the question here is that Mijares, Mijares went to the Department of Labor and Employment, NLRC SENA, to have a conciliation. Okay, so the question here are on two grounds, no? On this particular case, which was recently decided June 17 of 2020. Okay, so the issue here was that whether or not the fees imposed on Mijares is considered illegal deduction. Okay, that's the first question. Now, the second question was that whether or not the money claim subject to the 3-year, whether or not the claims, okay, is subject to a 3-year prescriptive period. So the answer of the Supreme Court on the first issue was there is indeed an illegal deduction. Okay, and then the Supreme Court touches on constructive dismissal. Okay, so what is this constructive dismissal all about by their HR professionals? Okay, so when we say constructive dismissal, it is a cessation of work because continued employment is rendered impossible, unreasonable, or unlikely when there is a demotion in rank or diminution in pay, okay, or both, or when a clear discrimination, insensibility, or distraint by the employer, which becomes unbearable to the employee. Okay, so as an HR professional, you would check, okay, so am I doing the right thing? Okay, am I constructively dismissing this employee? Is my action tantamount to constructive dismissal? Now, the test here is that as an HR professional, we have to we have to know the test on whether or not our action will lead to constructive dismissal. Okay, so whether or not a reasonable person in employee's position would have felt or compelled to give up his position under the circumstances, whether or not it's already unlikely, whether or not there is already a strained relationship. Okay, so that would lead to constructive dismissal. Right. So in this case of Mijares versus Hayat, the continued employment of Mijares to Hayat is not only unbearable, but impossible. Hence, it amounted to constructive dismissal. Why is it so? Because he stopped going to the garage of Hayat on March 12, 2016. And on March 14, 2016, okay, he filed before NLRC Sena a request for conciliation. But it was only on March 18 that Hayat sent an NTE to Mijares. No? So in this case, there was no RTW, return to work notice, that was sent to him. Okay? And the relationship between Mijares and the one of the employees of Hayat, okay, an officer of Hayat, is not that good already because of the shouting incident that had happened to between the two. All right. So the next question is the fees imposed on Mijares, whether or not these are illegal deductions, no? And the applicability of the 3-year prescriptive period. So when do we compute the 3-year prescriptive period? In this particular case, okay, if you were able to read by the way, there are 3 sources wherein you can get yourself acquainted to. Okay, 4. First is PD 442. Second is the omnibus rules. Okay, which is if you have the codal provisions, the code provisions, which is like this. This is the old one. This is the old codal before the renumbering. If you have this, it's at the back. Okay, so that is the omnibus rules, and then you also have the jurisprudence. Okay, and then lastly is the labor advisories that you can have yourself acquainted to in terms of the process, in terms of the dealings with your employees within the organization. Now, going back, so we have Section 3, Rule 8 of the Omnibus Rule, okay, to implement the labor code, which says that Section 3, wage deductions, okay, so these are deductions from the wages of the employees may be made by the employer in any of the following manners, okay? So when the deductions are authorized by law, including deductions for the insurance premiums, no, advanced by the employer on behalf of the employee. Now, as well as union dues where the right to check off has been recognized by the employee or authorized in writing by the individual employee himself. And then lastly, when the deductions are with the written authorization of the employees for payment. Okay. So in this particular case of Mijares versus Hayat, there was no written authorizations on the air conditioning, on the two-way radio, on the changing from diesel to LPG. There's no authorized or the form for deduction, no, that was signed by Mijares. Okay, so it's just purely verbal. So this particular case informs us as an HR practitioner that we should be having this authority to deduct. Okay, always to have authority to deduct in case that there are deductions that we will be implementing to our employees. There should be a consent. Okay, there should be a consent. And then the next issue here is the reimbursement. So it is true that there was already a decision that this particular amounts or the money that was given by Mijares to Hayat was an illegal deduction. It is an illegal deduction. Okay. So what is the turnaround time now that that Mijares can recover this particular sum of money that he was able to transmit or to give to Hayat Taxi? Now, the prescriptive period to reimburse deduction. So this was declared in the case of Ariola versus Filipino Star Ngayon Incorporated et al., which explicitly declared that Article 291, as amended and as renumbered, covers claims for overtime pay, holiday pay, SIL pay or service incentive leave pay, bonuses, salary differentials, and illegal deductions by the employer. Okay. So Mijares may only claim these amounts which were deducted from him within 3 years from the time the complaint was filed, and all other claims for prior deductions have already prescribed. Let me stress this, okay? So Mijares may only claim the amounts which were deducted from him within 3 years from the time the complaint was filed, and all other claims prior deductions have already prescribed. So the 3-year period from the time that he submits or he sought assistance from SENA backward is the only money that Mijares can recover from Hayat. Okay, so that is the case of Mijares and Hayat Taxi Services. All right, so we now go to the next case, which is Mañano, who is a nurse. Okay, and Santo Tomas General Hospital et al. This is not the University of Santo Tomas Hospital, but this is a hospital somewhere in Batangas, if my memory serves me right, which was decided in June 2017 by the Supreme Court. Okay, so the facts of the case was that Mr. Meñano was on leave for 3 days due to an urgent family matter. Okay, this was sometime Holy Week of 2008. He went on a 3-day leave. Okay, but then upon return to office or return to the hospital, he received unwelcome treatment. Okay, unwelcome treatment from Dr. Rojas Platon, and was told by a co-employee that Dr. Rojas Platon wanted him to resign since the hospital was not his services was not needed anymore. Okay, and on May 4, 2011, he was on off, but then there was a staff meeting and he was not able to attend that staff meeting because he was on off leave. Okay, and then on 7, so that was May 4. So on May 7, 2011, he was upon his resumption to office or upon his return to the office, okay, he was not on the listed employees. Okay, he was not on the list of employees who will be reporting for that particular day. Now, he went to the chief nurse, okay, and he was informed that Dr. Rojas Platon does not want him anymore, and he could not work until the hospital admin told him to do so. Okay, so this discussion is only for academic purposes. Okay, this is not to malign anyone, and I just want to inform you also that this particular literature that I'm saying now is on the website of the Supreme Court. Okay, it's the public can easily get access to this literature. All right. So going back, so on May 9, 2011, he was told again that he was placed under preventive suspension from May 5 to 18, 2011. He was neither given prior notice or reason for suspension. Okay. Now, May 19 comes. Okay. May 19, 2011. His name was not still on the list of duty nurses. Okay. And then it was only on May 25th, 2011 that he received his memorandum for suspension. Okay. Despite the foregoing, he continuously reported to the hospital but informed that he was dismissed from work. All right. It's the listings from A to I that I wrote on the deck mentions the scenario that the nurse had undergone. All right. So despite of the foregoing, he continues to report to the hospital, but was informed that he was dismissed from work. Okay. So the hospital countered that the employee was suspended from May 5 to 18 for being habitually late, not attending staff nurses meeting, and sleeping while on duty. So after his suspension, he did not report to work anymore. Okay. Case is on June 6, 2011, the hospital sent him a notice, NTE, notice to explain, but he failed to comply. July 7, 2011, another letter was sent out. On July 12, 2011, an admin conference was stated, but then he wasn't able to attend the admin hearing. And subsequently, a notice was sent out to him terminating his employment contract. So the reason is abandonment naman. Okay, so abandonment of duty. Okay, so the question here is that whether or not the nurse was Mr. Mignano was illegally dismissed from employment. Okay, so what is the answer of the Supreme Court in this case? Okay, so in this particular case, the petitioner was illegally dismissed. Petitioner is Mr. Mignano. Okay, because Santo Tomas General Hospital failed to prove abandonment. Now, what is the concept of abandonment? Okay. So the concept of abandonment is, give me just one second. Where do I place it? Okay. There is an element. The element is first the failure to report for work or absence without valid reason. And second, there must be an overt act. Okay, that the employee doesn't want already to report to work, or there is a clear intention to sever the employer relationship. Okay, in this particular case, okay, the second element is missing because there is an intention of Mr. Miñares to report to work. Unfortunately, the hospital doesn't want him to report to work. And aside from that, the notices came in late. Okay, that's why the Supreme Court in this particular case mentioned that he was illegally terminated. Okay, and the Supreme Court also mentioned in this case that in this particular instance, the employer should have sent in a notice to explain. I mean, RTWN, return to work notice. Okay, and not just plainly NTE, but then it should be return to work notice. The court is clear on that in the decision. Okay, and then abandonment, as mentioned in the Supreme Court in this case, is a just ground for dismissal, which requires a deliberate, unjustified refusal of the employee to perform his employment responsibilities. Okay. So there you go. As an HR professional, we have to ensure that if the employee is failed to report to work, was it able to inform the office that he or she will be absent for a particular day? So what should we do? We should be sending out a return to work notice, okay? And exhaust all available remedies, okay? Let the immediate manager of the employee call the employee and ask, okay? Because at some point my experience was that the employee was not reporting for work for more than 3 days already. But then when I asked the immediate manager to call the employee, pala namatay na pala yung empleyado. The family member doesn't have the contact number of the office. That's why it was not reported there immediately to the office. Okay, so I encourage you all that if the employee fails to report to work, okay, it is the duty, it is the responsibility of the immediate manager to contact the employee. Huwag naman sabihin na, ay, sir, kasi hindi sumasagot. Exhaust all remedies. Oh, what are the remedies? Oh, we have letter, registered mail, emails, okay? It's now the 21st century. So most probably, may Facebook yan. Okay, may TikTok nga, walang Facebook. Diba? So, there. Contact the employee through Viber, through other means of communication, WeChat, WhatsApp, or whatever apps that you have in your own organization, or Teams if you have Teams in your company. All right. So let me now go to the last case that we will be discussing this afternoon. So this is the case of SPC Power Corporation versus Geraldo Santos. Okay. So this is not my immediate manager before in one of the companies that I work for, because he's also Geraldo Santos. Okay. All right. So this case is all about a job description that was not given to the employee and its effects. In this particular case, it mentions the effects of failure of the company to issue job description to the employee. All right. So first, let me go first the facts of the case. Okay. So Mr. Santos was hired by SPC Power Corporation as a stockkeeper in one of its warehouse sometime 1997. All right. In 2005, 5 years later, SPC offered him a position for security officer. So from a stockkeeper, now they offered him a position of security officer. But on the first instance, Mr. Santos refused the position, okay, because he doesn't have training skills for such position. Second instance, same thing. Mr. Santos refused to get that position. And on the third instance, siguro nakulitan na si Mr. Santos, sige na nga, kunin ko na nga yung position. All right. But then, there was no job description that was issued as a security officer. On that entire stint, being a security officer in paper, Mr. Santos was just a PA. Okay? In the Supreme Court, it says he acted as personal assistant to Mr. Estreloso, his immediate supervisor. Okay? He was also ordered to conduct activities to prevent employees to form unionism or union. Okay? However, a union was formed in 2007. All right. So that is the facts of the case. Okay. So his main role, as per paper, is SO, security. What's SO again? It is security officer. Yeah. But then on a regular basis, the task that he is doing on a regular basis is not for an SO, but then for a personal assistant of his immediate supervisor. Okay. Now, and secondarily to that is union busting. Okay, to hinder the formation of union in the plant or in the organization. All right, but then union was the employees of that particular establishment formed a union on 2007. That's the reason why Mr. Santos was issued by a Shokos memo. Before they still use the term Shokos memo. All right, Shokos memo on January. Okay, this is January 2008. Okay, to put him on preventive suspension. Okay, so he was on preventive suspension, and the allegation was way back the year on the allegation was 2005 to 2007 No? The incidents that they alleged on the NTE happened when? 2005 up until 2007. Okay? There was also an allegation there that there was a crime that had happened, a murder that had happened inside the facility way back that particular time frame. But it was put on the NTE. It was written on the NTE. It was alleged on the NTE that he was negligent for his duty as a security officer. Okay? He admitted on his written statement that of his neglect because in his written explanation, he doesn't have any trainings. He doesn't have any skill for that particular task as an SO or a security officer. But then the company regularized him for the position or have him confirm and have an excellent rating on one of his performance reviews for that particular role. Okay, so in this case, he was issued NTE. He was issued NTE and OR. Okay, but then the question here is that what are the two? The question here is that there was a compliance with the procedural due process. Okay, when I say procedural due process, these are the issuance of the documents, the procedure itself of issuance of documents. Okay, and then the question here now is that was there any compliance with the substantive due process? Because there should be two types always in issuing disciplinary cases. There should be substantive due process and there should be also procedural due process. Okay, in this particular case, the Supreme Court said no. There was no substantial due process. In the slide, there is a difference between substantive and procedural due process, which is subject to your readings already. Okay, I just want to stress that this particular observation coming from the Supreme Court in this particular case, that the employee was dismissed based on gross and habitual neglect of duty and violation of company's code of conduct. And lastly, I should say, there are three. Willful disobedience. Okay? So what is the basis? Ginawa nila, kasi in this particular case, is just a shotgun approach. You know, if you are an HR professional, you know the shotgun approach. Shotgun approach meaning, ilagay mo na lahat, you have to put every possible violation on the NTE. Okay? But then the Supreme Court said, this is not a fishing expedition. Okay? And then there was already a lapse of time because the incident that happened 2005 and then 2007. You cannot use totality rule here because in some cases you can use totality rule, no, in dismissing the employment contract of the employee, okay, as a medium to dismiss the employment contract of the employee. But in this case, no. The Supreme Court said no. Okay. Okay. So, and then there was also no affidavit presented. And then the allegation that was mentioned by the employer, okay, there was no failure to prevent, investigate, and resolve the issues on the stolen. Kasi they mentioned there was stolen grounding cables, filtered good lumber, missing coal mint, stolen copper wire, and unresolved murders inside company premises. No? So, no affidavit whatsoever was presented. So the court says the employee should be given full back wages, moral and exemplary damages, and attorney's fees. The employee was illegally dismissed. Okay. In this particular case, also, it was stressed by the Supreme Court about Article 294 as amended and renumbered of PD 442, okay, which protects the employee security of tenure by mandating that in case of regular employment, the employer shall not terminate the services of an employee except for just or authorized causes. So that is the case of SPC Power Corporation versus Geraldo Santos. Okay. Sorry, I took 5 minutes of your time. I extended. Sorry. Any questions?
Okay. Okay lang naman po, Sir Marco. Wala naman pong problem. Kasi ano naman, worth it naman. Okay? So, okay. Ayan po. Ayan, sandali lang po. Hindi ko makita ang aking face. Ayan, nakikita ko na ngayon ang aking face. Okay. So, maraming salamat po. Medyo ilalagay po muna kita, Sir Marco, kasi may mga, lalagay po muna kita sa background dahil meron lang po ako mga pasasalamatan na iba pa pong
Sure.
mga sponsors po natin.
Thank you.
Okay, ayan. So medyo mabigat-bigat, Diyos ko po. Dumugo ang aking ilong sa mga na-discuss po natin. So yung may mga questions po, lagay nyo lang po yan dyan po sa ating group chat. Yung mga nasa Zoom po right now, lagay nyo lang po doon sa ating group chat para po ma-discuss po natin yan later. Okay po? Pero bago po ang lahat, pasalamatan po muna natin ang ating pong mga sponsors. Ayan po. Iaano ko lang po. Wait lang po. Okay, isa po sa ating mga sponsors po ay ang atin pong, syempre pa ang atin pong partner na si Move Up. Si Move Up po, if ever po you're looking for a platform where you can do micro-learning po, mga maiiksing mga learning sessions po na mga ilang minutes lang naman po maglalast. Yan po, Move Up po yung platform for that. Okay po, so kung interested po kayo dyan, please head to Move Up app. Ito po yung kanila pong app ay pwede nyo pong i-download pwede nyo po itong i-download sa Android at meron din po ito sa iOS. Okay po. Ayan po. Okay. So sige po. Pasalamatan lang po natin. Actually may video po sila. Wait lang. Atin po i-display ang video na yan. Okay. Please watch this video po from Move Up. Ayan po. Okay. Ayan. So yung mga may questions po, pakilagay na po yan doon po sa ating group chat. Meron din po kaming announcement po. So para po doon sa mga nag-send po ng stars, maraming salamat po. Bilang pasasalamat po sa pagbibigay niyo po ng stars, we are offering you 10% discount for our labor relations and labor cases webinar happening po on January 30, 2021. Okay po? So one of the team members po from Uprosh will reach out to you po para po dun sa inyo pong details po nung inyo pong napanalunan na discount po para po dun sa ating webinar pagdating po sa labor relations. Okay po? So yan po, bilang pasasalamat po, medyo marami-rami po yung nag-send ng stars na kung hindi po namin actually ine-expect po yan. Okay? Reminder din lang po dun sa mga nasa webinar po natin ngayon, nasa Zoom po. Okay? Yung mga outside of Zoom po, pwede nyo pong makuha yung copy ng slides. Ipopost po namin yan sa Society for the Advancement of HR in the Philippines. At yun naman pong video ay ipopost po namin yan sa amin pong YouTube channel. Links for both can be found on our page after the webinar po. Pagbigay lang po tayo ng mga ilang oras kasi minsan po napakaganda po talaga ng aming internet connection. So medyo po matagal minsan bago po siya ma-upload. Okay po? So yaan po. Okay? Now, balikan po natin si Sir Marco. Sir Marco, are you ready na po ba?
Yes po.
Ayan, balikan lang po natin si Sir Marco. Medyo marami-rami po yung mga questions po na pumasok actually. Ayan. So ang first question po natin, sir. Is there such thing as illegal suspension? Meron daw po bang ganun?
Yes,
okay,
there
so
is.
meron po noon. Okay. Kailan po ito nangyayari?
If the employee was suspended without the issuance of the notice to explain, okay? Wala kang failure to comply with the twin notice requirement, then that is illegal suspension.
Okay. Next question po, nanggaling naman po sa ating Facebook page po. Ang tinatanong po niya, is it possible during the SENA mediation conference to accept the resignation of an employee? This is to release the stigma of termination in the person's employment if the employee is requesting for it. Si employee daw po ang nag-request.
Yeah, actually, that's a good practice.
Mas maganda
But then
siya,
on-
no? Oo.
Yeah, but on the company record, it still remains that the employee has a pending case. Okay?
Okay po. So, ayan po. Ayan po, malinaw po yun. Dapat meron pa din po dun sa records nyo, pero po pwede nyo naman daw po na i-accept po yan.
Yeah.
Ay, ayan. Okay, next question po. Wait lang. Naisara ko ang aming group chat. Sorry. Okay, eto po. Next question po. Galing naman po kay Miss Mary Josephine Tolentino. Hi sir, may I ask how can we manage the offboarding kung naka-work from home arrangement, particularly when we issue the quit claim that should be notarized and signed? Ayan po.
So, in one decision of the Supreme Court, no, regarding quit claims, it is frowned upon. It is frowned upon yung quit claim. But then, as some companies, as an assurance, no, as a security, they have this quit claim. Okay. Do have this quit claim, but then it is suggested if you will be having a quit claim, no, have it notarized, have the document notarized, so that it will not be a private document. Kasi the concept of notarization will have the document be a public document. Okay, so the employee is bounded by such agreement on that notarized document.
Okay. Yung iba po mga companies, ang ginagawa nila para po safe is pinapapirma nila ng quit claim bago i-release yung final pay or bago i-deposit. Okay lang po ba yung practice na yun?
Yeah. Make sure that finance or whatever department in your company issues the quit claim through money transfer to the corporate, the private account, bank account of the employee. There should be a screenshot. There should be a trail, no? Because previously, if you will be issuing the check, no, you have to photocopy the check and then have the employee sign on the photocopied document, di ba? And then have it attached to the 202 file of the employee. So that is the previous practice. But what we have currently, since we are in the pandemic, and some employees are not allowed or limited by reason of the transportation that we are currently in now, then it would be fine, so long as there is a documentation that that particular final pay of the employee is deposited to the bank account of the employee. Okay, please do not deposit the final pay to the ATM of the wife or to whatever ATM that the employee submits. It should be in the payroll ATM of the employee. Okay. Otherwise,
so dapat kay employee mismo talaga.
Yes, because some instances kasi I know for a fact that some ATMs are, nakasanla.
Oo. Okay
diba?
po.
In some companies, ganun eh. Yung mga empleyado nila, nakasanla na yung ATM nila sa kung kani-kanina, yung mga loan sharks.
Okay. So careful po tayo dyan, mga kasamahang HR, sa kung saan po natin sinisend. Yes po, sir.
And then there is this one case that I would like to reiterate, the case of San Miguel Corporation. It's it was decided this year, March. I didn't cover. By the way, I didn't cover yung I wish to cover up until December, from June to December. Kaya lang lack tayo sa material time eh. So yun lang yung I was able to present, but I have some cases also up until the latest pronouncements of the Supreme Court. So I just wanted to reiterate, kasi in that particular case, nagkawalaan yung authority to deduct. The employee was it's a cooperative kasi of San Miguel. There is a cooperative, and then the employee had a loan in that particular cooperative. And then allegedly on that particular Supreme Court on the facts of the case, nawala yung authority to deduct. So I advise also to all HR practitioners, it would be best also to have your 201 file, 202 file, to have it digitalized na, no? So in case kasi of casualties like fire, di ba? Fire within the organization and you don't have any BCP or business continuity plan, tapos sira na yung mga documents. What if there is an authority to deduct? Or the employee can easily claim, I didn't sign an authority to deduct. Di ba?
Correct. Oo. Tandaan din po natin ang money claims po, if I remember correctly, is 3 years. So yung mga
That's
records nyo po, dapat ito po ay maayos po ang pagkakatabi. Tama po si Sir Marco. Dapat meron kayong digital copies niyan so that no matter what happens, meron po kayong backup file na po pwede nyo pong i-check in case na magkaroon po kayo ng mga money claims at kung ano pa man po mga reklamo. Meron po kayong mababalikan. Tanong po ni Ms. Lenora Dumagat from our page, is it okay to include neuropsychological exam as part of the pre-employment requirements?
That all depends to your company. And that all depends also to the role. Okay?
So
for managerial role, for managerial and for example, VP role, kailangan niya.
So kung kunwari po, the position may impact talaga yung mental health ng empleyado, it can be required.
True. Yeah, that's
okay
true.
Po.
That's true.
Okay po, sir. Tanong po ni Ms. Tess Reyes, can an employee of the same level stand as a witness? Pag for example, ayaw i-sign si NTE, pwede bang ka-level noong binigyan ng NTE ang magsasign at mag-a-attest na ayaw niyang i-receive si NTE?
No, it should be a peer level or a skip level.
Skip level. Okay po. So ayan po, Ms. Tess. Clear po yan. Yun po yung kasagutan po sa inyong tanong. Tanong naman po ni Ms. Jamie Ortalesa, with regards to clearance, can we base the amount of the item that needs to be returned by the employee to the amount of the item nung nabili siya or nung na-receive, or kailangan po ba ay yung depreciated value na?
That all depends to that all depends to the IT policy that you have. Okay? But for compassionate justice, it should be the depreciated value.
So yun po.
That's
yun,
my opinion on the matter.
Ako din, I would agree with the opinion of Sir Marco. Yun nga, for humane reasons, dapat yung depreciated value na. But check with your IT, check also with your finance, what is their policy when it comes to damages po, or when you're returning damaged items, or kung paano ba i-charge pag may mga damage po yung items. Kasi depende po yan.
After 5 years, sa libro naman ng kumpanya, zero na yan eh.
Yes, yung book value, yung depreciated value, kailangan po tignan. So, itanong niyo po. Pero usual practice po, at least as far as sa mga napagtrabahuhan ko, they usually make use of the depreciated na. Kasi bakit mo naman i-charge yung di ba? Yung mataas na value. So, yun
That's
po.
true.
Question po from Ms. Carmencita Flores. Can an employee demand separation pay if he or she resigns if there is a precedence? So yung former manager daw or director already gave separation pay sa isang employee na nag-resign. Pwede daw bang gamitin yun ng isang empleyado as precedence?
So I just want to make myself clear regarding the facts presented, no? The issue presented. So you are saying that the latest employee or the later employee wasn't given separation pay, primarily, I'm on the assumption, primarily because the company is closing his or her business. It's business.
Nag-resign daw po. Nag-resign siya. Oo, yung later na employee nag-resign, pero may nauna sa kanya na nag-resign din, binigyan ng separation pay.
Separation
pay. Ngayon.
Yeah. So that all depends to the policy of the company. For example, if there is a work days that are not given yet to the employee, also the counting of the 13-month pay, if the employee is eligible for such, then the employee can demand for
final pay. Final pay, oo.
Yeah.
Yung separation pay, Carmencita, siguro ang suggestion ko sa'yo siguro dito, kasi if it's just one employee, I don't think that sets a precedence. Baka kasi for humanitarian reasons, binigyan siya ng additional na gratuity pay.
And then take note ang mga compensation na ganyan, it's confidential in nature, you know?
So dapat hindi ito na-discuss. Oo. Tama. Sabi ni Ms. Tess Reyes, gratuity pay dapat ang tinawag para hindi magkakaroon ng problem.
Yeah, gratuity pay. I agree with the gratuity pay na term. Yeah.
Sabi ni Miss Alona Esplan, can deduction of tools issued to employee automatically be deducted if the employee lost the tools? Or kailangan may investigation muna?
I'm sorry. I wasn't able to get the question.
Nawala po niya. Meron in-issue sa kanya na tools. Si tool ay nawala. Pwede bang automatic i-deduct na kagad yon or kailangan munang magkaroon ng disciplinary action?
So, attestation, have it affidavit. Okay na yung affidavit na what do you call this, the item that was issued to the employee was lost. But then I have a case, a very interesting case in my previous company. Okay, it's a laptop. Okay, the employee went to IT and said, oh, my laptop was lost. It was stolen. Basag kotse. Basag kotse. And the laptop cost 100,000+ because it's what do you call this, MacBook Pro, if my memory serves me right. No, 100,000+. It's lost, sabi niya ganon. So there was an investigation, and syempre, we have some securities in place within that particular machine. So it was traced out that the employee sold the particular item. No, sold the particular item. So the lesson here, and we were able to terminate the employment contract with the employee, of course, because of theft, by reason of theft. No, good thing we weren't able to file a case, a criminal case for a qualified theft for that. No, but then it is a practice that if there is an affidavit, there is an attestation coming from the employee that I lost this particular item. What is the initial remedy of the company? First is to have it investigate. Okay, for example, it's a laptop. I assume that there is a security measure that you embed on that particular machine. Okay, so that, and then you can recover the files. Otherwise, wala. Okay, so it's best to investigate prior to issuance of disciplinary action. Now, the concept here, I just want to reiterate this to all of you, my dear HR practitioners. Okay, the concept of disciplinary action is not punitive in nature. Okay, kasi I've been practicing ER for quite some time already, and then they're telling me I'm a grim reaper because when every time that I go to the boardroom with a brown envelope, mawawala na naman. Oh, di ba? But then it is a corrective action, my dear friends. It's a corrective action. It's not punitive in nature because we want to correct the particular employee. The goal of human resources is to retain talents, no? To retain talents and to have them experience a wonderful experience within the organization. That is the role of human resources. So let us remove the concept of mga taga case management, taga ER, nako, kinakatakutan yan. No. We are all partners, my dear friends. Regardless of nasaan ka man sa organization, you are partners to accelerate growth within the organization. Okay? In one news ka, sabi, kasi magsasara naman na yung organization, hindi na ako papasok. Magsasara naman yan in 2 months time kasi wala nang pondo. No. It's still your obligation to go to the office because you are still legally employed. You still have a contract with that company. You should honor that employment contract with the company. That's only my take. Sorry.
Yes, I agree, Sir Marco. Naku, yung mga umattend po ng HR bootcamp, lagi natin sinasabi yan, di ba? Ang inyo pong disciplinary action ay hindi to punish the employee. Ito po ay to correct the employee. Kaya nga po sinasabi natin, dapat progressive, dapat hindi dapat din tayo masyadong trigger happy sa lahat na lang. Yun nga sinasabi ni Sir Marco kanina, shotgun approach. Lahat na lang po pwedeng isama na kaso, sinama na. So dapat meron din pong critical thinking, analytical thinking, and communication that goes with your disciplinary action. At higit sa lahat po, tama din po yung sinabi ni Sir Marco, it's all about the experience. Our end goal is to retain and engage employees. Hindi po natin end goal na to remove employees, hindi po. So dapat po, inaalagaan po natin sila, kino-correct natin sila. Kasi when we hire them because we felt that they would be able to do the job. So we need to support them para magawa talaga nila yung trabaho nila. Okay po. So yan po. Sino pa po ang may questions? Meron pa po ba tayong questions? Tignan po natin ang ating group chat. Na kanina ko pa na isasara palagi. Okay, nasagot ko na po yan. Ayun. Sabi po ni Ms. Jamie Ortalesa, is it required to inform the erring employee that we have sent an NTE via LBC? Because whenever we do this, most of them do not accept the LBC mail we sent. Would that be considered as already waiving their right to be heard and we can already proceed with the NOD?
Mhm.
So ano daw,
Okay.
sinabihan nila, parating na dyan yung LBC, nagtago yung employee. Paano
Okay.
po yung pag ganon?
The rule is that all depends to the policy. That all depends to, first, the policy. Secondarily, that all depends to the graveness of the offense. Okay. For example, in your policy, there is class A, class 1, class 2, class 3, or class A, B, C. Okay. 1 or A is the less grave offense or minor offenses. Grave offense is the last one, 2, 3, and 1, 3 and 8, 3 and C, I should say. Okay. In this particular case, if you send out an NTE to the last known address of the employee and the employee, okay, fails to acknowledge it, it is presumed by law that the employee received that document, regardless if there is a notice, okay? Now, or through text messages na I received or I wasn't able to receive. Okay, so if you build it through registered mail or courier, it's 10 calendar days. Okay, if it is through registered mail, it is 5 calendar days. Okay, so if the employee, for example, there is a what do you call this? Administrative hearing. If it requires administrative hearing and the employee fails to attend the administrative hearing on the said day, waive it. It's the employee waived the due process. Now, but if there is a compassionate clause on your policy, which says that a second notice, if the employee fails to acknowledge on the first notice, then a second notice is required, then you follow sending out a second notice, okay, due to the compassionate clause on your employment contract, and do the notice, NOD or notice of decision or notice of resolution. Now, in cases of, because there is another treatment in cases of absences, as mentioned earlier, no? So there should be a 2 notices, first NTE and second, first NTE, close it, second NTE, close it with an NOR and an OD for those cases of return to work notice, because it will now fall under the discussion earlier of abandonment of duty, because there is already an overt act coming from the employee that he doesn't want already to go to the office. Okay? But again, before you exert that particular remedy, ensure that the immediate manager should have contacted the employee. Kasi in my previous example, malay mo patay na nga yung empleyado kaya hindi siya
hindi nakakasagot.
tumatawag sa iyo. Yeah, oo. That happened to me.
Okay po. Okay. Meron pa po ba tayong mga hahabol po ng mga questions po? Wala na po ba? Okay. Sa page po natin, nasagot ko na ba lahat ng questions dito? Or may naskipan na naman ako? Ayan. Okay, could include, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Okay. Pinapasabi po ni Miss Jamie, thank you daw po. Okay,
You're
sa inyong
welcome.
kasagutan. Ayan. Okay po.
If they have other questions, no, after this, as an HR professional, I'm happy to help everyone, no. So I have my, you can ping me in my Facebook, LinkedIn, and ano ba yung isa? Instagram ba? Yeah, Instagram. May
Okay po.
TikTok pa ako.
So pwede niyo po
I don't have any TikTok.
Inaabangan pa man din namin yun, Sir Marco, ang iyong TikTok. Labor cases habang nagti-TikTok.
Actually, there is a contest nga doon sa isang group ko of TikTok for professional. So siguro if I have the courage, then I'll do it because there is a season 2 daw doon sa TikTok challenge nila sa kabilang groups na inatenan ko or naging member ako. So I'll try to join. I'll try to join TikTok. Don't worry.
May pahabol po si Sir Alexander Zulueta. Oy, Sir Alex, tandaan ko ang name mo. Ilang beses po ba dapat isi-send via email yung return to work order pag hindi po or yung NTE pag hindi po tinanggap ng employee? Kailangan ba Kung kunwari yung unang send mo hindi niya tinanggap, kailangan ba mag-resend pa at ilang beses dapat?
Okay. The concept of return to work notice. If the employee, if there is a return to work notice that was sent, first notice that was sent to the last known address of the employee, and the employee fails to respond or fails to provide an answer on that, then wag ka munang mag-NOR, no? So, sorry kanina, I just want to correct myself. Hindi ka muna mag-NOR. Second notice ka muna. Okay? Reiterating your first notice. What is the cause of action on the second? Willful disobedience of the lawful order. Di ba? So that is the second notice. And definitely, doon sa grid mo ng penalty, pag willful disobedience, automatic yung dismissal. Okay? So dismissal. So after that, if you send out the second notice, count 5 days if it is registered mail, no? Count 10 days if it is through regular mail or through courier. Then provide a decision. Mail mo din yung decision.
Correct. Huwag niyo pong kakalimutan yan. Like ko sinasabi sa inyo, di ba? Sa mga umaten po na HR bootcamp, huwag kakalimutan po i-close ang mga NTE, NOD palagi, magka-partner po yan. Close nyo palagi para kung ano't ano man ang mangyari, meron kayong notice of decision, send nyo po yan. Kung hindi po siya pumupunta talaga, pwede nyo po rin yung i-send via mail po. Okay po?
Tingnan nyo yung cases kanina, di ba? The employee was informed already, di ba? Yung sa nurse, si Mr. He was informed already that he was suspended. Pati nga si taxi driver. But then, di ba? Walang NTE, walang NOR. That's the reason why management lost the case and the employee won the case. What's worse is that if the decision of the Supreme Court or NLRC or labor arbiter is reinstatement, ayaw mo na nga yung empleyado, di ba? Tapos reinstatement pa rin ang decision nila sa iyo. So what's the remedy there? So it's either pay reinstatement or pay the severance package of the employee.
Separation pay po tayo. Okay. Kasama po yan. Andun po yan sa authorized causes. Pag hindi na po pwedeng i-reinstate, kasama po yan sa authorized causes. Pwede na po kayong mag-separation pay po dyan. Okay po. I think, sir, nasagot na po natin ang ating lahat ng mga katanungan. Naku, thank you very much po, Sir Marco, for spending your time with us. At mukhang baka mag-part 2 po tayo kasi mukhang interesado yung iba doon sa iba mo daw na hindi napakita ang jurisprudences. Ayan,
siguro sila. By next year siguro ang is January to May na siguro if that would it would be the case. Or if you want, I can also discuss yung from August up until to date siguro na jurisprudence. I'll be more than happy to discuss the latest jurisprudence to you guys, and if you have some questions, just ping me. Okay.
Ang jurisprudences po, mahalaga po yan sa atin bilang HR kasi minsan hindi lahat nandun sa labor code. Yung jurisprudence po, nanggagaling po yan kay Supreme Court at po pwede po yung gamitin na basehan. So pag minsan makikita nyo yung mga lawyers pag gumagawa sila ng position paper, may i-quote sila na kaso. Yun po yung mga jurisprudences. Pwedeng gamitin siya as basehan to justify kung ano yung nangyari. Okay, or to justify kung ano yung naging decision ng company. Ayan po. So again, Sir Marco, maraming salamat po sa lahat po nung nasa loob ng atin pong Zoom meeting right now. Thank you also for staying with us. Reminder lang po dun sa lahat ng mga nasa Zoom right now, yung e-certificate nyo po, we will be giving it out starting January 5. Hindi nyo na po kailangan pang mag-register. Okay po, kasi po, nakuha na po namin yung pangalan nyo. As long as tama po, kumpleto po, full name po ang nakalagay right now sa inyo pong pangalan. Okay po, kung full name po ang ginamit nyo dito right now, yan din po ang ilalagay po namin doon po sa inyong certificate. Okay po? So, request din po namin kung sana po maaari lang pong mag-drop lang po ng quick note dun sa atin pong group chat para naman po hindi namin kayo makalimutan doon sa inyo pong mga certificate. Again po, yung lahat po na nag-send ng stars. Maraming salamat po sa pag-send ng stars. Automatic po, meron po kayong makukuhang 10% discount sa ating labor relations and labor cases. Okay po, maraming salamat po sa pag-join niyo po this afternoon. Part 2 po sana. Yes, we'll try to make kulit kay Sir Marco. Pag siya po ay hindi busy, we'll try to make kulit kay Sir Marco kasi baka meron na po mga bago pa siyang alam na jurisprudences para naman po mag-guide po niya. Ayan, ang dami na. Opo, tatry po natin yan. Magpa-part 2 po tayo. Okay po, wag po kayong mag-alala. Kukulitin natin si Sir Marco.
Yeah.
Okay po. Pero sa lahat po ng mga nanood right now, sumama po right now at lahat po ng nasa page namin right now, thank you for watching with us. Thank you for staying with us. We'll see you again next year na po. Wala na po tayo. This is the last webinar that we have for this year. Magkikita-kita po tayo January of next year na dahil kailangan naman po nating i-enjoy ang atin pong holiday season ng atin pong Pasko. Alam ko po na yung ibang mga HR ngayon ay nagmamadali for the 13th month. So, good luck po sa inyo. Kayang-kaya niyo po yan. At yung iba naman po ay maaaring nakabakasyon na. So, enjoy the holidays and we'll see you after the new year. Let's hope that 2021 will have a better future for us. Maraming salamat po and goodbye everyone. Thank you po.
Goodbye.
Okay, stop lang po natin sa Facebook. Okay, maraming salamat po sa lahat po ng umattend right now. We hope to see you again in our succeeding webinars po. Yung mga certificates nyo po, again, January 5 po kami magi-start na mag-out po. Okay po, maraming salamat for everyone and happy holidays. Bye-bye!